Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Hyatt. So glad you joined us. We are continuing our study in Colossians, daily devotionals. And what an incredible blessing we are finding in Paul's letter written so many years ago, but yet so full of life for us today. We are at day 22 in our devotional journey through this letter to the Colossians, and it's called "Don't Be Robbed." Colossians 2:8. Paul says, "Beware, lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ." Beware lest anyone cheat you. In other words, don't be robbed. Don't allow yourself to be robbed of the wonderful riches that are yours in Christ. How can that happen? By allowing ourselves to be led astray and distracted from the source of all good things, which is Christ. So Paul expresses concern that the Colossian believers not be led astray nor enticed away from their simple devotion to Jesus Christ. This same thing can happen today through the influence of heretical teachers with fine-sounding arguments that carry an impressive ring of philosophical learning. However, because their teaching is not according to Christ, Paul declares it to be nothing more than empty deceit and illusion. Now, this Greek word for cheat, Colossians 2:8, beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit. The Greek word for cheat is sulagogon, which means to rob, plunder, or carry away captive. Wow. Paul's concern is that the Colossian believers are on the verge of being carried away captive, about to lose the riches and freedom that are theirs in Christ. This is the case because of their acceptance of false teaching, a teaching that comes cloaked in philosophy and high-sounding rhetoric, highly impressive words. Oh, how we must be on our guard in this hour against false heretical teachings that would lead away from a simple faith in Jesus Christ. When the disciples in Matthew chapter 24, when the disciples of Jesus asked him what would be the sign of his coming and the end of the age, his immediate response was, "Take heed that no one deceive you." And then he went on to talk about how that false prophets and false Christs would arise and deceive many. And so, oh, how we need to be alert and to be on our toes as Paul is warning here in this letter. Now, the word philosophy in this verse, it comes from two Greek words, phileo meaning love and sophia meaning wisdom. Philosophy, therefore, is the love of wisdom. In Paul's day, everything that had to do with theories about God and the meaning of human life was called philosophy in both the pagan and Jewish schools in the Greek-speaking cities. But despite its impressive sounding rhetoric, Paul says that this teaching is according to the traditions of mere human beings, such as Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and so on, rather than according to Christ. The teaching that is threatening the church in Colossae, to whom Paul is writing, and that he is so concerned about. This teaching is obviously a syncretism, a mixture of legalistic Judaism, Greek philosophy, and a Christian super spirituality that overemphasizes the importance of angels, visions, and other esoteric type phenomena. This mixture was leading the Colossian believers away from a simple devotion to Christ, in whom Paul said are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge, and who is himself the image of the invisible God. The answer for the Colossians is to maintain their focus on Christ, who is the source of all that is needed for life and salvation. And so we must guard our faith in this hour when through the internet and through modern communications, we are vulnerable and exposed to so many ideas and teachings and doctrines and claims of revelations. We must guard our faith in Jesus Christ. You know, I have 2 master's degrees and a doctorate. But let me say this, while studying academic disciplines such as philosophy and higher biblical criticism in seminary, I continually reminded myself to maintain a simple devotion to Jesus. And so after reading highly academic books by theologians such as Rudolf Bultmann or Karl Barth, I would turn to my Bible and to something like Ever-Increasing Faith by Smith Wigglesworth, which presented a simple life of faith in Jesus. So guard your faith. Don't let anyone or anything carry you away captive, as Paul warned the Colossians, and rob you of the inheritance that is yours in Christ. And in closing, I want to read the words of Paul to the Galatians, to whom he had a similar concern. And he said to them that he was concerned. I'm sorry, it's not in Galatians. Bear with me. I think it must be. It's in his letter to the Corinthians. And it's 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. He says, "But I fear, lest somehow as the serpent deceived Eve by his craftiness, so your minds may be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ." The simplicity, that word is sometimes translated purity. Do not allow anything or anyone to take you away from the simplicity and purity of faith in Jesus Christ. And as you walk in Him, in that simplicity of faith, yes, you will grow in wisdom, you will grow in knowledge, there will be depths of understanding of His grace and His love, but it will all be rooted in this simple faith of Him as your all in all. And you will see marvelous things that God will make known to you as you keep Him front and center. God bless you. I'm Eddie Hyatt. This is the Awakening Podcast. Check out my website, eddiehyatt.com. My email is there. There are articles there. There's a bookstore there. My books are also available on Amazon. And if I can be a blessing to you, send me an email. Be in touch in any way you would like. I would love to hear if these podcasts are being a blessing to you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for another Awakening Podcast.